Laura, this is Tom from SODOM, and you are at Heavy Demons radio show. Enjoy and have fun.
So, dear Tom, what shall new and old Sodom fans expect from the Arsonist? There is one definitely interesting thing production-wise. The drums were recorded using a 24-track analog tape machine, not the usual these days. How was the production process for the album?
I came up with it when a friend of our drummer Tony, he's running a studio, and he's working with tape machines and analog mixing desk and all this stuff. And I asked him to if it's still working, the shit from the 80s or 70s, Yes, and I came up with the idea of recording the drums on an analog tape,
Yeah.
And the thing is, if you're a drummer and you're recording the drums on a tape, you just have one chance, You cannot cut anything,
No, edit and so on.
Edit, exactly. And but the main thing is that we don't put any samples on a snare, whatever, or trigger signals or plugins. I don't want to have the drum kit sound like plastic, like other bands do. And now you get a real drum sound without any effects, more authentic, But the problem is, in the end, it's digital, And when we start mastering, we have to compress the whole file.
Oh.
I like it when the drums coming from the middle, guitars left and right.
Yeah.
The main guitars. But he told me a lot of people listen to music on a smartphone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you have to compress the file that you listen on a smartphone, you get also the guitars, That was a compromise, That's the way it is nowadays, But we recorded the drums analog and recorded guitars on a digital, but with microphones,
Yeah.
And that's very important, I know it's not usual, it's also expensive. Younger bands that don't have the money, you can record an album on a computer, with an interface and all this stuff, But I want to do this in my life, That was a real big experience because the tape machine, it sounds different,
Nowadays, it's something different. Everything sounds the same.
Yeah, they use the same plugins, they use the same software, That's what we don't want, And the drum kit is a big instrument, I want to get it sound like a drum kit,
Yeah.
And I want to have a snare sound like Tony snare sounds in the end, And that was, to me, that was very. I know it's not usual, and it's expensive, but I paid the price.
The four of you contributed to the songwriting of the album for a classic Sodom kick-ass album. How did you work on each composition of the song?
It's there is no time period when we start writing songs. We always have ideas. I remember the guitarist came up with the guitar riff, and so we met in a rehearsal room, putting everything together because I'm a singer in a band. I arranged the song because I have to put my lyrics on it,
Yeah.
But the main difference between the album before is that Tony is also a songwriter. Our drummer is also a good guitarist.
Ah, okay.
The most people don't know, And he came up with a lot of good guitar riffs, like a Trigger Discipline. Witch Hunter is from Tony. The next single is called Tapiphobia. It's also a Tony song, And so we have three composers in a band, I think Frankie's a classic thrash guitarist with a typical Frank Blackfire riffs, York, the younger guitarist, is more in epic metal, He listening to every kind of metal, and Tony's coming from a black and death metal scene, He has different ways to write a guitar riff, Yeah. And we're putting everything together, But it's always very important that we do it in a rehearsal room,
Yeah.
Doing a jam session, putting everything together, It's also an old school way. I know a lot of bands that don't have any rehearsal rooms, They work with MP3 training writing a song, That's not the way for me, I want to be with the band, I want to talk about what is the best chorus, what can I do here, you know. Um, so that was a pro, but it goes about the last 2 years, you know.
What has inspired you the most while writing down the lyrics of The Arsonist?
The world situation, you know. Um, I have a couple of songs. There is a song called Witch Hunter. It's a tribute to our ex-drummer, you know.
Yeah.
And there is a song called WTF, which is a song about my most favorite bassist and singer. It's LG Watt from Tank, from an English band, yeah. And the rest of the songs, it's about war, you know. It's about, if you look into the cover, you know, the cover artist, his name is E.Vil, you know. We worked on the cover for the last 2 years, you know. And then we talked about song title, you know, and different ideas, you know. And he's somebody who gets inspired. He's a big SODOM fan, and he wants to get some SODOM lyrics, some new song fragments, whatever, you know, to get inspired making a cover like this, you know. But the most songs are about, there is a song called Tapephobia, it's about World War One, you know. It's about a soldier fighting in a field, fighting in a trench, and he is scared that a grenade exploding next to him, and he gets buried by all the debris, you know, which a lot of soldiers were scared about, you know. And you know, if you look into the cover, you know, this reflects the situation in the world. You know, there is you see the soldier on the
Yeah.
knees and the dead man in a peaceful situation, you know, in an atmospheric situation. And the Knarrenheinz over there, you know, he destroyed everything. He's gonna set the world on fire, you know. But this is not the arson is not the person, you know. I don't talk about President Trump. I don't talk about President Putin, you know. I talk about the whole world situation because wars are always growing up, you know. But in the end, the message is really simple. We want to live in a peaceful world, stop the war. You know?
Since you talked about the usual fantastic artwork that was used for The Arsonist, what shall the fans expect from the physical releases of the album?
I think that we're gonna do a box set. In the box set there will be a vinyl version of the album. It's I think a CD version, and there is also a live EP inside the box set. And what the record company usually do is bringing the vinyl in 5 different colors, you know,
Okay.
which I don't know why, you know.
For collectors.
Yes, they know there's a collector scene. They're gonna buy everything, you know. The music is the same, you know, on a red vinyl or a black vinyl, you know. But that's the way it is, you know. That's a business, you know. But no, it's not my business. I cannot decide what to do. That's going. The record company have the right to do it. They get a license, you know. But there is a collector scene who collect everything, you know. And the box set will be really something special, you know. I'm a big fan of box sets, you know. I like it.
Yeah.
But we try to keep the price low, you know. We don't. Some bands they're gonna sell a box set for 120 euros, whatever, you know. I think we're gonna get it for 70 euros, 75, something like this. But I don't know exactly, you know.
Talking about another amazing physical release, last year I've been doing an interview with Andy to promote the amazing re-release of Tap in the Vein. Which are your impressions of such a beautiful physical version of this masterpiece?
Oh yes, I like it. So the thing is that Andy Briggs, he collect every stuff from this era when he played in Sodom, you know.
Yeah.
He get everything, the tickets, pictures, you know. And nowadays we are working on to get what you deserve. And I think 2 weeks ago he was at my home. I have a scanner, and we scan hundreds of slides, pictures, posters, whatever, flyers, whatever, you know, to make a really big package of. But I don't want to tell too much, you know.
Yeah.
And BMG said maybe we can release Get What You Deserve in November this year, you know. And yes, we want to complete the whole back catalog, step by step, you know. And Tapping the Vein was one of, people are waiting for Tapping the Vein so long, because Tapping the Vein is an album that was never re-released by any
Yeah.
company, you know. So people want to get it on vinyl, I know if you're a collector, you want to have the first press, original press, But the prices went really high, I
Yeah.
saw Tapping the Vein in a good condition for 600 euros.
Yeah.
These are the prices. And collectors want to have the original, the first press. I know.
Anyway, there is
Yes,
also the remaster, which is very powerful. I mean,
yes, yes. I think the remaster and the remix, we are glad to get the tapes from it. And also on the Get What You Deserve, I found in my archives the Get What You Deserve tape
yeah, yeah,
on a tape machine. So my friend who recorded the SODOM album, he get this tape digitalized. So Andy is able to make a remix of the album.
yeah,
The beat sound, Get What You Deserve is my favorite album. I like it so much because there is no overdubs on it. It's pure, it's brutal, it's really hard. I like the bass sound, the guitar sound, drum sound is perfect. So
yeah.
I'm looking really forward for this re-release. And then we talk about other albums. I think Obsessed by Cruelty re-release, people are waiting for In the Sound of Evil. We got Persecution Mania in line. I'm still busy doing this. Yes.
I absolutely appreciated your statement about how hard is life on tour and how it steals time to work on other issues, such as back catalog, many other things, not to mention precious
Mm.
time with your family and so on. So,
Yes, it's my decision. I know it's not good for the band. Also, the record company told me you got a new album out. You have to present it
yeah,
on festivals or touring, whatever.
yeah,
I think the time to stop or to stop something is always uncomfortable. It's always if you decide this. I talked to my band years ago, 2 years ago, about this, that I want to stop doing, I want to turn down the things a little bit. And I said, that's your decision. We are loyal to you. Our drummer, Tony, is playing in 4 bands nowadays
yeah,
because he's a great drummer. He found always a band. The bands want to get Tony on the drums. Tony, York is working in a record store. I think Frank is pushing more his Blackfire solo project and his guitar's cool. So it's always an uncomfortable decision, but I have to take it.
yeah.
I have to take time for other things. What I talk about family, friends, hunting, whatever I'm gonna do.
Which are your memories about Euronymous and your opinion about Sodom's legacy and influence on his art?
I know that. I remember last year we've been there we got a meeting with the main members. And my guitarist was at the place where Dad shoot himself.
Okay.
And there was a picture on the wall, scratched in wood. Sodom Obsessed by Cruelty.
Yeah.
He was a big Sodom fan. I know that Sodom had a big impact on the completely scene in Scandinavia. And also in other bands like Mayhem. Mayhem, they were big Sodom fans. You know. This album, Obsessed by Cruelty, is really something special. Because you cannot compare it to any other Sodom albums. After Obsessed by Cruelty, we changed, getting more thrashy on Persecution Mania. But for example, the painter of this cover, he's a big Obsessed by Cruelty fan. He told me, your album, Obsessed by Cruelty, is a holy grail.
And
You know what I mean?
yeah,
I understand it. It's not my favorite album, because it's too chaotic. Guitars are not tuned and it's running out of timing and everything. But this is what the people like. Especially in the beginning of the Scandinavian black metal scene. They say Obsessed by Cruelty was different to Bathory, different to Hellhammer or other bands, or different to Creator, which was a real black metal. That makes me proud a little bit, yeah.
and then Euronymous named his own label Death Like Silence.
Yes.
Of course.
There, you know, if you if you gotta see that the song titles of Tetracurity, they get stolen by other things, record companies, publishers, merchandise, band names, type names for songs, and you
Yeah.
know. So I know that this album had a really big impact to the scene, you know.
Which are your favorite non-metal musical acts?
I don't have non-musical acts.
No,
I'm a metal fan, you
you are
know.
a metal fan. Okay.
I remember somebody asked me, what do you listen before the metal scene when I was a little boy, you know? You know, one of my favorite bands in the beginning was Dire Straits.
Yeah, great band. Mark
It's a
Knopfler.
great band, you know. It's not metal,
No.
you know, but I like it, you know. And nowadays, when I listen to music, you know, I get the Dire Straits, or when I go to by car the radio, you get all sorts of swing, you know. I like it. You know, my first album I bought for my own money was in '76. That was Rainbow Rising,
Okay.
the album, you know, which is not a metal album, but it's a hard rock album, you know. And then I came up with heavy metal. But before, I can tell you, my first single I bought, there was a little kid, was a band called Butterfly. And the song is called Popcorn. I don't know where they come from, England or America.
Okay.
Or try to get you. It's totally funny, you know. No, but my older sister, she listened to T-Rex and Slade and all the glam rock bands, you know.
Okay.
And that was the first time I listened to electric distort guitars, you know. So I came up with hard rock and heavy metal, you know.
Do you have any personal memories related to Italy, and which Italian bands do you know?
We played often in Italy, you know. There is just one band in Italy I really enjoy. It's Bulldozer.
Yeah.
Because AC Wild, he's a friend of mine, you know. And the last years, played a couple of festivals, the same festival like SODOM and so. We always meet, you know. And he gave me his book. He
Her-
wrote his own autobiography and he gave it to
Heretic.
me, you know.
Yeah.
Yes, it's great, you know. I like this, but I told him, you know, your first album, The Day of Wrath, you know, we listened 100 times, you know. When we listened to heavy metal music on a metal party in my apartment, you know, Bulldozer was always something on the top, you know. It was a little bit underrated in these times, you know, but
Yeah.
I liked it. I liked the sound. I liked it. It's a Venom Motorhead style a little bit, you know. That's what I really enjoy, you know. And I'm so glad this man is still alive, you know.
Yeah.
He's still on the scene. He's still standing strong on the stage, you know. That is very important. He's my age, maybe older, I think. I don't know. Maybe he's 64, 65. I don't know really, you know. But I really like him, man.
Which final message and greeting would you send to the Italian fans of Sodom?
So I'm so sad that it's gone now, you know. And I don't have any plans to come back. But when we come back, Italy is always a great place to be, you know. I like people. It's like Italy, Spain, Greece. People are really. It's like South America. They're getting really enthusiastic, you know. We always had a great time there, you know. I would thank you for supporting the band all over the decades. And Italian fans, you are still interested in the new album and in the new stuff we're gonna do. So I'm so sad that I cannot come back next year, you know. But I see you soon. I do everything to gonna see you again, you know. But thanks for the support, you know. That's a lot of fans. A lot of bands don't say this, you know. Without my fans, also Italian fans, I wouldn't be here, you know. What is a band without their fans? Nothing, you know. The fans are the most important part in my band all the time, you know.